If you want to participate, contact me at ordinarywomenpodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure you have great projects to brag about. You can also follow me and message me on Instagram at Ordinary Women Podcast, on Twitter at Ordinary Women PC, or on Facebook on the page Ordinary Women. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Ordinary Women. I'm with Irina today. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Lucy. Nice to hear from you. I'm very excited to be a guest on this podcast.
Yay, I'm so excited to have you here too. Really excited for this conversation. Can you start by giving us a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Irina Shepkova. I am a well-being guide, specialize in offering my services to primarily people who spend a lot of time at their desks. So this can be 9 to 5 years, but this can be also freelancers who spend a lot of time during their day seated. And my programs and what I offer are built around the SHAPE methodology that I would talk about later on during this podcast. And the tools that I use to help my clients are around mindfulness, movement, and meditation. So I took everything that is yoga inspired or yoga based, and then I constructed my offers around these 3 pillars.
Cool, can't wait to hear more about this. And can you tell us something unusual about yourself?
I'm an immigrant, so I immigrated from Russia to Belgium 12 years ago. And the funny thing is that I immigrated for a corporate job. So this is why, now my primarily target audience are people who are still having this corporate job. So I'm kind of teaching people because I remember myself several years ago when I was in the same seat, literally. So I moved for a corporate job 12 years ago, and then as from about 2 years ago, I'm doing the full-time being entrepreneur, and I'm very excited about it.
That's so cool. I love that. I'll ask all my questions about you being an entrepreneur in our second part, because I know you're going to tell me a lot more about this. On this podcast, obviously, we talk a lot about what it's like to be a woman. So I'd like to start by asking, was there a moment or an event in your life when you realized that you are a woman?
Yes, absolutely. And it has to do with yoga as well. So throughout my life, I had the problem of being disconnected from my physical body. I didn't feel like I am actually inside my body. And however weird it may sound, but there was still the cases when I would be passing by a mirror or like a window shop, and I wouldn't recognize myself. And I realized that I have this problem of being disconnected from my body, but I didn't know how to target it. I didn't know how to help myself. And then when I immigrated to Belgium, I tried yoga. And I tried it just out of mere curiosity because I heard people talking that it's good for stress management, that it will help you, feeling better in your body. But I never experienced it up until the time that I have immigrated, and I was very stressed for my corporate job. And this is when I actually realized that how it is to be in the body and in the body of a woman. So yoga really helped me being connected to my physical body. And when I understood that it is a helpful tool, I immediately got a willingness of helping others to deal with this problem, because this is like an omnipresent thing. And I can see it now when I teach my public classes that people most of the time do not have this proprioception of connecting to what is happening with their body. And the funniest example is, when I say to people, bring your feet together, nothing happens. So people don't understand that feet together means that, the insides of their feet should be touching. So that's why I can say that, coming back to the original question, from which I deviated a little bit,
Well,
and
good.
yes, I realized that I'm a woman when I was doing yoga because I felt connected to the physical body.
That's so interesting. If you don't mind me asking, do you know why you were so disconnected from your body?
I actually have no idea how to explain this. I think, we come come to this existence with a set of tasks that we need to deal with. And presumably, one of my tasks was to understand how is it to be in a human body.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to look at it. And I'm glad that, you're making your way through that.
Thank you.
And did you grow up with any women role models?
I think the biggest role model for me in terms of the time period when I was growing up is my mother. And this is a flashback to many of the situations that we are dealing with as growing up, but also then dealing with the, let's say, adult problems. We are looking up to our parents. For me, it was the case for my mother, so I looked up to her on how she was dealing with the problems herself in her life. She was very open about sharing her experience about the time period when she left her own house to pursue studies and to build a career. And so she left her own family to go on with her studies. So for me, it is definitely my mother's example that I follow. And she is the one that I ask for advice every time I really need a very sincere advice, not just kind of nice things to say, like everything will be all right and so on. I'm not sure that she's gonna say it, but really a sincere advice that she would give me, coming from the point of view of helping me, because I know that she wouldn't filter. Coming from her perspective of the life that she had, she would tell me everything as it is.
That's so precious to have someone who is not afraid of telling you what you need to hear, even when it's not what you want to hear. That's
Yeah.
such a great person to have around. And
Yeah.
what do you think? Sorry, go
Uh,
ahead.
I just wanted to say, and she would always kind of start like, Irina, I know that you know that I'm going to tell you the truth, so I know that you will be grumpy and you will be like, yeah, come on, don't you want to say something nice to me? But you appreciate it, and this is why I share it. And that's the thing that I appreciate as a connection to my mother.
Yeah, that's so precious. I love that you have someone like that around you. And what do you think that she taught you?
She taught me primarily that, if you are struggling with something, but you know that it is the thing that has to be done, you just need to actually sit down and do it. So she would always, not always, but when the circumstances were as such, she would tell me, there is this word that you must do it, even though you don't want to do it, but you know that it has to be done. So just sit down and do it, and then life will be easier.
Nice. She seems really good at making your life easier in the future, even when it's not something nice right now.
True. Like you can imagine yourself, the future self that would be grateful for the past self that was capable of doing the thing that has to be done. And so your future self, would be happy and relieved and, prosperous and so on, even though currently you might be going through this with difficulty, but you know that in the future it will be easier.
Yeah, completely. And what about today? Do you have any women role model?
These are my friends. I'm very lucky to be surrounded by very good friends, especially the female friends. And I'm just a lucky one to have this great woman around me. And even though, podcast is called The Ordinary Women, I think my friends that are surrounding me are really extraordinary. One of my best friends, she is a breast cancer survivor and she has incredible optimism and she's living every moment like, you have to live through this with the utmost best experience. I really admire her. And then I have another friend who is an entrepreneur as well, and even though she had a breakup, she still keeps up with the thing that she believes is important to do with her own experience that she supports and she built up from scratch. And, another friend that I wanted to mention, she is a life coach and she is an incredible friend and she's very passionate about what she's doing. And I truly admire people who are passionate about the thing that they dedicate their life to. So I'm lucky to be surrounded by my friends. And I mentioned the these few examples, and I'm pretty sure that when they listen to this podcast, they will identify themselves. But generally, all of my friends that are around me and that are close to me are incredible women.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It sounds that you have yeah, between your mom and your friends, it sounds that you have an amazing support system and, yeah, really incredible women. Yeah, that's super cool. And what do you think they teach you?
I think they taught me how to be resilient and how to manage the circumstances such that you learn something from it and you draw the conclusions. And then out of your learning, you improve your next experience and what you can share with the world.
Amazing. So precious teachings. That's super cool. Well, I hope they're all well. Hello, if you're listening. And do you think that the lack of representation of women had an impact on you growing up?
Absolutely. And I would even say that it's not during the period when I was growing up, but more during my career as a lawyer and a manager when I moved to Europe. Because I used to work in gas industry, and this is primarily dominated by white men in suits. So whenever you enter a meeting room, you see people of a certain gender, of a certain age, and a certain attitude towards the things that are being discussed. And this is just the nature of the industry that I was working in. I was chairing some meetings, and it was interesting to see that you're a chair of a meeting, and then you see that most of the participants are men, and there are just a few, let's say, sprinkles of women here and there. Still, it was nice to see that women are being sent from their companies to talk at the European level and to present their companies' ideas. But the majority of the participants, they were men. And once I remember there was even a conference where I asked how come that at our offices there is not enough women representation. And I was told that, we have reached the level where there is a 50-50% split between men and women in the offices. But the thing that was not mentioned is that the majority of the women, they were still at the admin and support staff. They were not at the managerial level. And so my question remained unanswered.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, it's like a very beginner's understanding in a way of equality. And like, you're not reaching equality at all. You're just following quotas because someone say that you have to without understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it. But super brave of you to have that conversation, break that conversation in a male-dominated environment. So yeah, congrats for raising your voice and yeah, using it. Cool. Shall we jump on the kind of second part of the podcast and talk about something that you have done, are proud of, Project Life Experiment, call it however you want. Yeah, so what are you gonna, well, you mentioned it earlier, but can you explain to us what you're gonna tell us about today?
Yeah, sure. At the moment, I'm quite happy with the approach that I set up in my business because I wanted it to be having a consistency throughout the different offers that I present to my clients. And then I remember that once I was just sitting there looking at my logo and thinking, how should I kind of make everything structured and understandable and easy to comprehend for a client. And I came up with this idea of the methodology or the method that I use throughout different offers. And to my surprise, it was not something that just I invented from scratch. It was something that I just named, but it was already existent. It's just that I never presented it consistently as a method. And the method is based around my brand, which is Yoga Shape. So I took the second part of it, the shape, and I split the method according to every letter of this word. So it is an abbreviation of the method that I use when I work with my clients. So the letter S is a start. And this is where, for example, if we are talking about the for the corporate clients, we are discussing where is it that we want to go and see ourselves at the end of the corporate well-being program. And the next letter is H, and this is honesty. That's where you identify where you see yourself currently now, So when you look at it as if you're on the Google Maps and you need to find your way somewhere, you need to first put where you are. Do you use your current location or do you use any other location? So that's the honesty. You need to be completely honest with yourself and identify where you are, where you start. The next step is the awareness. So you need to be aware of the plan of where you want to go. And coming back to this example of Google Maps, let's say, you need to put the B location so that you go from point A to point B. Then the letter P stands for practice, and this is where my three pillars are coming into play, the ones that I talked about before, the movement, the mindfulness, and the meditation. So I took the different practices from yoga and I adapted it so that they are understandable and easily applicable for people with busy lifestyle who spend a lot of time at their laptop seated. Plus, they have family to take care of, vacations to plan, and so on. So that they can implement these sprinkles, these different bite-sized techniques throughout their working day, and they can take care of their body without the necessity of having a spare 1 hour to go to the gym. And then the last letter of the method is letter E, which stands for evolution. Once you have gone through this cycle, starting with your intention, identifying where you currently are, where you want to go, and how you practice to reach point B from point A, you draw conclusion. It is an important self-reflection step so that you can check, are these methods that I'm using and that I thought would work actually worked? And you then can adapt your different methods and techniques for the next cycle, for the next iteration of the process.
That's super cool. I have a very stupid question to start with, but how did the word shape come? Sorry, it's like a very stupid question, but did you were you like, oh, this is a nice word, and then I need to find words that go with the letter and find them, or how did that happen?
Initially, when I set up my business and I had to actually register my business as a separate entity, let's say, I don't have a recollection of how I came up with this word shape. So I don't know. There was a logic behind, but at the moment I don't remember it. So I just went on with this word yoga shape. It went on for a few years. And then I realized that, okay, I use the same method. And what I have just explained, it works for the corporate well-being programs. It works for the overseas retreats. It works for the one-to-one work with private clients. It even works for just a single publicly available session. So all of the 5 stages, they are present. And I never kind of realized that, it's already there. It's kind of on the surface. Even the word shape fits it. And when finally I draw this conclusion, I kind of connected the words, the dots. I thought, okay, it's a great idea that I picked up this word at the beginning of my entrepreneurial career. Now it works perfectly.
Amazing. Yeah, that's so interesting. That's so funny that it matches it so well. So how did you realize that there was, or how did you implement that method? What was the switch? What were you doing when you started, and how did it evolve into this 5 letters method?
I think I just put the name on it. I was already doing it with my clients one-on-one, as a group, even on the separate yoga class when I was teaching in the gym or in the studio. So I just put the name on it. And now it's easier for me to explain to my clients how I work. And the beauty of it is that it's very understandable and comprehensible. And actually, if you look at any even daily life activity, if you want to have it completed, which I suppose you do, you at first set an intention, then you understand where you are, and understand where you want to go, then you actually do the thing, and then at the end you realize, okay, have I done it? Did it work or not? And it applies to everything. So I think the method is applicable. It is just that sometimes and this is what I was doing. You were doing it without realizing it. But when you do it consciously and mindfully, and you identify, like, okay, this is the practices that I use to be able to achieve what I want, it is definitely easier to achieve the goal that you set at the very beginning.
That's super cool. Yeah, definitely see all of what you just said, like literally in my daily life or everything. And I know you touched a bit on it at the beginning, but can you tell us a bit more about why you decided to start this company?
When I moved to Belgium, I had a difficult task to manage, and I was worried and stressed. And I heard that yoga would be a helpful tool to manage my time through this stressful period. And so I tried yoga, and it took me a bit of time to find the teacher and the practice that fits better my lifestyle and my understanding. And as soon as I realized that, there is a way of explaining and bringing it forward to people that is helpful for them, I thought it's important for me to be on this mission to help others to go through the stress. And the funny thing is that when people hear that I present myself as, for example, I'm a yoga teacher, everybody has an opinion about yoga, even people who have never practiced. So there is a lot of baggage associated with yoga as well as with mindfulness and meditation. And oftentimes it's not true. So when you hear that somebody is a yoga teacher, you immediately have a kind of a picture in your head, which might not necessarily match the current situation. So that's why I thought, okay, it's important to be able to explain to people in understandable language that you don't have to be sitting there in a lotus pose, humming and chanting to be able to manage your stress. You can do some exercises, some mindfulness techniques, some breathing activities, and they don't have to be long. It's just a matter of a few minutes that will bring you back to the balanced state where you are a better person.
That's so cool. That's so amazing. And so, how did you start it?
When I received my first yoga teacher training certificate, I started teaching immediately in the studio where I was studying to become a yoga teacher. So generally you have to have 200 hours certificate to be able to start to teach. And when I share it with other people, I say, like, listen, imagine if it's like sort of a bachelor degree. So you are able to teach, you are able to work, but it's not enough. You're just scratching the surface. So as soon as I received the certificate, I started teaching. I had, I remember, 7 a.m. Thursday morning class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And believe it or not, people were coming there and practicing, and they were very dedicated to their practice. So I'm very
Oh,
proud
amazing.
and the fact that, they were committed to their practice, and I was honored to teach them. And yeah, so step by step, I realized that, it doesn't have to be limited just necessarily to teaching in the studio or in the gym. You can bring it to people in other locations and through other formats. And this is where I ended up.
That's so cool. I love that. And was there anyone who had an impact on it?
I'm very grateful to my teachers. I keep on studying. There is never a point in my life when I'm not enrolled at any course, be it online or in person. So I keep on studying because the more you learn, the more you realize that you need to learn more. The more you realize that there are plenty of things that you don't know. So the biggest impact that I had in my life for this part, let's say, of my career are my teachers. And I still am a proud student of them and a very grateful student of them that I can get in touch with them directly and talk to them and, clarify some of the possible inconsistencies in the practice. It is a great gift to be able to talk to your teacher one on one.
Yeah, that must be so important to have your teachers still around. Do you still do courses with them?
Yes, absolutely. I'm still on a course, and my main teacher is based in the US. Whenever he comes to Europe, I try and catch him at a location which is possible to reach. And I'm doing the online studies with them throughout the year. We have a consistent call schedule. So once per month, we have a 3 or 4 hour call where you can just nerd about yoga and all the things related, and we're not just discussing the some physical aspects of how you position your body into an asana, the yoga posture, but all the things associated with teaching yoga. So that's again a great opportunity to discuss things and to be in the community of supportive, like-minded people where you can just nerd about it and not receive like why should you be discussing such a small tiny little detail, because that's the thing, even though it might be kind of a cliche talking about the devil is in the detail, but you look at two people and they have different body composition, they have different lifestyle, they have different goals. You cannot offer them the same set of techniques for their exercise or moving their physical body in the space, for their breathing activities, for their mindfulness techniques. You really need to have a personalized approach to be able to be of support. And that's why discussing these small things and keep on learning and studying them is important to be able to be of a better service for your client.
That's super cool. I love that. And what do people come to see you for? Like what's most people's goals maybe? Or start? Was that the first letter?
Yeah, most of the people that I work with have one thing in common. They have a lot of things to do and not enough time.
That's me.
And so generally, we have a tendency of going through our to do list in such a way that taking care of yourself and of your well being is not a priority. It's somewhere there, it may not even be there, but if it is there, it's somewhere at the end of this to do list. So, what I teach people to do is that you can incorporate these well-being practices that again are yoga based and yoga inspired, but are adapted to the general mindset of the people who are having a 9 to 5 job or coaching business or entrepreneurial activity. So these are the activities that coming from yoga are adapted to your lifestyle, and most importantly, they can fit your busy schedule. You don't have to have 1 hour reserved go to the gym. Of course, it's good that you do, then I would applaud you. But most of the time, we don't have these time slots during our busy schedule. So, what I teach is these small, bite sized techniques. And when they are applied, they do help you to take care of your well being.
That's so cool. And what challenges have you faced?
I think, like every entrepreneur, the biggest challenge of our path is rejection. You hear a lot of no's. And so at the beginning of your entrepreneurial career, you take it personally. You think that, something is wrong with you, that you're not as successful as you wanted to be. And then it is a life lesson to go through this, to learn from this, to draw conclusions. So that's a nice loophole to what my mother was talking to me about.
Yeah.
So you draw conclusions based on your experience, and then you just get over it and you move on. And in the end, every person that says no to you, to what is it that you offer, in fact, it's good that they identify that it's not a good fit for them at the very beginning. It would have been worse if that was in the middle of your relationship as providing the service, that they would identify that, come on, the thing doesn't work, why did I agree on that? So in fact, hearing no, when I hear it now, I consider it as a gift. It's a gift of clearing up the space for people who would like to work with me and appreciate the tools and techniques that I offer to help them.
Yeah, and I guess it's also that you've been clear enough in your offering, and you know you're really transparent enough that the person was able to really fully understand what it is and recognize that it's not for them. So yeah, that's really, in the end, really great.
Yes, indeed. And this is where I'm very grateful for my corporate background and for the fact that I'm a lawyer by education. It really does help of being structured and identify the risks and opportunities upfront and how to present them to the client and to work further.
Amazing. Do you, I mean, I'm sure that it must happen because some people just, you know what, like you learn what you like and you don't like by doing things. So I'm sure it must happen that some people thought it would be good and then realize halfway through that it's not working for them. How do you deal with that?
As a lawyer, I have a set of documents set up. So when we start working together, we identify the possible ways forward when things can possibly go wrong. So I suppose that, as in any other setup of a human connection and relationship, it's better to think upfront and to be prepared. I like to say, you can hope for the best, be prepared for the worst. Still, you're hoping for the best, and then, if things go sideways, then you have a bunch of agreements beforehand that can support the both parties.
Nice. Yeah, very, very lawyer mindset of you. But that's great. I'm sure it must come very handy. And what on the contrary was easier than you thought would be?
I think, and it's coming back to your question about my method that I use. It was kind of a revelation to me when I realized that it works, this method. And in fact, I was actually doing it. So I was very grateful to this realization that all of the things that I offer to my clients throughout the different setup, they follow the same structure. And I don't have to invent a new approach for every other offer because I can use the same approach and it works.
Amazing. That's so great that you found that this method was successful and like how it works and and the really cool name.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe I can elaborate a little bit on the part of when it comes to practice. What I offer is buffet of different options. Some people might find some things are working for them, whereas others don't. For example, when I work with a corporate client and they come to see their employees once a week, for instance, I teach them different tools and techniques coming from yoga and designed to manage their stress and build their resilience. And these tools and techniques could be activities with your physical body, stretching exercises, or strengthening exercises for the body parts that are involved or too much involved when you are sitting most of the day. Then it could be different breathing techniques, or it could be different mindfulness activities, and I offer them the vast variety of these techniques. Some people like one technique, some other people like the other technique. What is important is that they remember when they are stressed that they need to use it. When we're stressed, generally we tend to switch to our own devices or, let's say, to the level of our training. So it's important to train yourself and to identify that when you're stressed, you do not jump to the easy solution of, for example, eating a box of chocolate as managing your stress. But instead, you have learned and practiced such that when you feel the need of managing your stress, coming back to the balanced state of your well-being, you use a different tool or technique. Like you go through a 3-minute breathing exercise or a mindfulness activity where you bring back your focus to the present state.
that's so cool and that's so important. I mean, I'm gonna say something really stupid, but breathing is so important. But I feel that we don't realize that enough because obviously you do that like
Yeah,
like,
and it's
yeah.
always It's the first thing that you do when you come to this world. It's the last thing that you do when you leave this world. It's absolutely for free. It's always there, and you can use this as a beautiful tool to manage your stress. You just need to know how to do it, and this is where I offer you different solutions of how you can breathe and play with your inhalations, exhalations, and pauses between them so that you can go to this balanced state of being resilient and managing your stress effectively.
That's super cool. And why are you proud of this and of yourself?
I wouldn't say that I'm proud as such, probably I wouldn't use this word. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I'm not a native speaker, but definitely I feel grateful and lucky to be able to do what I do. People that come to my classes, that are enrolled in my offers, that join the retreat, I see them, I see how they look, I see how they perceive the world of the session and at the end of the session, and they change for the better version of themselves. And I feel very grateful and lucky to be able to guide them through this process so that I can help them to become this better version of themselves. I think this is something to be proud of. Probably I just don't formulate it as such in my head. So I'm grateful again for the opportunity to be able to be a guest on this podcast so that I have this realization that this is a thing to be proud of.
Yeah, definitely. Because, yes, it's great to be a part of it, but it's also, you're part of it because you're putting the effort and making it happen. So, definitely something to be super proud of. Yeah, and making other people's life easier, helping them. That's really, really cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think we're going to conclude our episode on this. Is there anything that we that haven't had a chance to talk about during our discussion that you wanted to mention before we end?
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be a guest here, and I think the only thing that I would love to repeat is the fact that the women that are surrounding you, these are women from your family, your colleagues, your friends, when you look at how they deal with the things and with the problems in their life, while preserving their womanhood and, manifesting it and being proud of it, this is what I define as extraordinary. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this and to go through this kind of flip side of, you can be an ordinary woman, just a girl next door, but the things that you are doing and that you are bringing forward, having this opportunity open to other women is in fact extraordinary.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. And thank you so much again for coming to share a bit of your story with us. It was so interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will put everything in the show notes so people can find you, your website, and can reach out when they want to. And there is a tradition on this podcast that the guest gets the very last word. So the mic is yours.
Deal with the problems as the problems appear. Try not to be worried beforehand.